Hey guys, Tire Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully everyone's doing well and having a good start to the week here. Couple of quick updates to make here. So some big changes have occurred here, and quite a few changes in regards to the advisory map that we have here from the National Weather Service. Wind chill advisories have now been issued. Wind chill warnings as well. These areas right here in the darker shade of almost, I would say, sky blue. If you know exactly what color this is, let me know in the comment. But it's definitely has a look resembling an ice-like color. But also another interesting thing to note here, we have winter weather advisory starting to expand further to the south here towards north and central Georgia. We have hard freeze warnings, hard freeze watches, even in Florida at this point. Freeze watches as well. So things are are in motion right now. I guess that's the best way to put it. Then, of course, winter weather advisories are going to be now more prevalent across the Northeast as the storm system is on its way here. So, some things to make note of here. We're going to go through the model data. The HRRR is going to be what we're using here. And we're just kind of going to run through the next day or so. But temperatures are going to be rapidly dropping. And here's an interesting thing to note here. Towards Atlanta in particular, where there's now a chance that we could get some freezing rain over here. You're going to start out the evening relatively above average, but as we go later into the evening, mainly overnight, is when that temperature is going to just rapidly plummet. And I think there's a opportunity for a brief period of wintry precipitation here. And with that in mind, my concern is that if we can manage to get some accumulation here, this could become a big problem for the roadways. It's not going to take much, but we all know that in our fellow Atlanteans, my fellow Atlanteans, I should say, we know that our infrastructure isn't necessarily the best for winter weather here. So I'm not necessarily just saying you shouldn't go out, but if you can help it, definitely would recommend you stay in. I mean, obviously, this thing may go one of two ways. It may overperform, it may do nothing at all. But we're going to just have to keep an eye on it and see how this game plays out here. So as we continue to go into the morning here, this is about 9 a.m. Eastern time. You can see those temperatures just rapidly plummeting. We don't even get above freezing. And then as we go into the night here, that's when things get awfully dangerous. That's when that wind chill advisory really starts to show itself here, with the temperature actually starting to drop even lower than expected here. I think I even saw 10 over here, not only towards Atlanta, but also towards Alabama. And then I even see a -3 over here in far northern Mississippi, towards northeastern Mississippi. So that's just showing you how cold it's expected to get. So definitely need to be making sure we're staying warm here. Also, make sure you're practicing fire safety, of course, because in our haste to be warm here, sometimes we tend to forget things. So we don't want anyone burning their house down or anything of the like. So that being said, of course, just make sure you're doing all of what you're supposed to do. Make sure you're prepared in advance. I mean, we've been talking about this a little bit for like probably at least the last few days. So hopefully if you're watching and you've been watching, you're already set to go here. So looking at the wind gust, and this is going to play a big key component in our wind chill factor as well. You can see just across the board here, especially as we go through the day tomorrow, those winds just spreading rampant. We're just running rampant here, especially off the Rockies here towards the central part of the U.S. where the wind chill warnings are in effect. Basically, what these wind chill warnings are meaning is that we can see frostbite occur within a matter of minutes towards any areas of exposed skin. So if you do by some chance have to go outside, make sure that you are covered pretty thoroughly, if not completely. Like, this is really what I'm saying. Just stay in if you can, because you can't be out in that for too long. Body's just not meant to hold up to that. So frostbite can occur pretty rapidly. Obviously, we don't want anyone to deal with that. And then, of course, the wind chills are going to remain. The wind chill advisories and wind chill warnings are going to remain in effect mainly due to the fact that the winds are going to only be increasing as we go through Wednesday. So here's an actual look at the wind chill values here. And the main thing I've made note of course, is the 30 below plus the 30 below and even colder areas over here. And then, of course, once we see this move off to the east here towards the Corn Belt, it seems like it's going to be increasingly cold as we go through Wednesday evening and maybe even into Thursday. So, like I said, pretty rapid update here in this part. We're going to get into the precipitation, then we'll start talking about total winter weather totals, and that'll pretty much do it here. But the cold's going to be the main topic here. Here's that wintry outlook here. Here's the look of that precipitation. Like I said, Atlanta, you're seeming like you're right on the cusp of this. Maybe towards northwest Atlanta, we might get a little something here. Real question will be, how much moisture will be available once the cold air arrives? And if so, just how much ice could accumulate if we could get this all to verify? That is the key question here. Then after that point, we're looking back out to the northwest for our next system, which is going to dump some more heavy snow. We've been talking periodically about what's been going on out to the northwest. The snow machine's been running rampant, and this will be another case with this really strong low pressure here that's just north of the border. But with the moisture coming in from the Pineapple Express here, looks like we are going to, well, not the Pineapple Express, but the moisture we have coming in here, it's going to make for prime conditions for snow here, and maybe even some wet snow possibly. So as we continue to go forward, this is looking at our snowfall totals. We're going to go ahead and go all the way to 36 hours out. And for the most part, we have pretty good congruence between the models. Lake effect snow is going to be a thing here. Oops, didn't want to go that far ahead. But lake effect snow is going to be a prevalent factor in the days ahead here. Snow in the Appalachians, we could get some pretty impressive totals from that. But for the most part, we aren't seeing too much of a snow tail extending too much further off to the south here. There's only one model that kind of shows that, and that's the wrap here. But I'm not really sure that we're going to have enough moisture left over to really lean into this model. So here's the blend of models, pretty much showing the same thing. Totals are a little bit lighter, but still lake effect seems like a very prevalent, prevalent mode that we're going to be seeing over here, particularly over towards Pennsylvania, parts of southwestern New York, and also parts of Ohio. So there's that to keep an eye on, and we can even stretch this out to about 36 hours. We'll see pretty much a similar deal. But then, of course, as we go towards the northeast, towards Maine, and then outside of the border, we could also see another heavy pocket of snow. The main thing that I'm concerned here with the ice is just how far this ends up spreading. Some of this, of course, does make it towards Atlanta, but areas further to the south, like let's say over towards New Orleans, areas off to the north and east here, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, you're in there as well. Jackson, Mississippi, you're not far from this. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a little bit of ice, but I think accumulation for the most part might be rather minimal. What I'm most concerned about is this pocket right here where we're seeing up to 1/10 of an inch or above even. This could be a big problem when it comes to travel here. So this is something that needs to be monitored very closely. I've already heard that a fair number of counties in both Atlanta and not just Atlanta, but in Georgia itself and also in Alabama have closed their schools, which is a move that I kind of agree with. A lot of that has to do with being caught off guard by snowstorms in the past. If you're in Atlanta, if you know, for Atlanteans, if you know, you know. But also there's the NAM 3 kilometer showing pretty impressive ice totals here. If this does verify, that's a big problem, like I said before. National Weather Service blend of models thankfully kind of keeps it about at 1/10 of an inch. Still a problem for roadways, but if we get to that 1/4 inch mark, the more likely we are to have power outages. So some of these models, of course, are going to be really aggressive here. The RRFS is one of those aggressive models here. And then also the Euro and the Canadian GFS is even a little bit aggressive with this. I'm a little surprised by it. But most of the convective models kind of keep this rather measured for the most part, except for the NAM 3 kilometer here. So, like I said, a lot of stuff still up in the air with this forecast here, but for the most part, I do expect to see maybe some form of wintry precipitation towards Atlanta. I know some of you are probably watching tonight over towards this area, and then of course over towards northern Alabama and the Appalachians is where the lion's share of the action is going to end up being. So I guess the last thing to look for is the snowfall analysis. Now, I want you to keep one thing in mind with us looking at this here. This was ended at 6 a.m. Central Time, so 7 a.m. Eastern for those of you that aren't as familiar. But across the board here, this is looking at Arkansas, which is the big winner, seeing up to about a foot of snow up towards northern Arkansas. This is just off to the north and west of Little Rock here. And then over towards Tennessee and Kentucky, we have some pockets where we could get up to maybe even half a foot of snow. But widespread, for the most part, it's going to be about 2 to 4 inches for the looks of it. And I think for the most part, we're about done with our snowfall here as the systems begin to trek off to the east here. So, and then, of course, we have a little bit of activity over here towards the Rockies with another system likely on the way here within the next couple of days. That being said here, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you found it useful, you know what to do. Smash that like button. If you're new around here, definitely consider subscribing. And also hit that share button, because some people may get caught off guard by this information. You could be helping somebody with that. That being said, horns up. I'll see you soon. It's been Tyler, Metalhead Weatherman. You guys take care and have a good night.